I'm Horton, that's
Trent Finlayson.
and we are halfway through Worlds Week, and yesterday, Thursday, was insane. Huge amount of news. Men's slalom off the hook, but first we got to talk about women's slalom.
Yes.
So Trent, the women kind of skied the scores you'd expect. Top four, Jamie, Manon, Whitney, Regina. I don't know if Alice, and in Italian they pronounce her name differently, but I'm not going to destroy it. I think she probably skied above expectation.
Yeah,
the big news was...
Well, first of all, what was the cut line, though? It was pretty darn high. I think it was one and a half. I think it was 1.5 of 39.
Correct.
So that's like just from having skied a bunch of worlds and having followed a bunch of worlds, that's high. I mean, a typical cut's going to be honestly it's going to be deep 38 for that 12th spot. So right off the board, it was consistently higher than ever.
All right. So the big story of the event, of course, is Whitney was second from the top. She goes out. She runs 39. She wants a big score at 41 to put the pressure on Regina. She turns one, loses control at edge change through the wakes, going to 2 at 41. Takes probably the worst fall anybody has seen in recent history.
It was something. It was the worst. It was honestly frightening. So like she's got to post it on her social media. It's on a few different places, on a few different platforms. Go find
right.
it. It was scary to watch because she was obviously in such duress, and not the kind of duress where you're like she took a while to get on the platform. I mean she was flailing. Bordering on convulsing. I mean, she took a serious knock to her head. Didn't know which way was up, which way was down. She was trying to swim up, but was actually going down. It was the worst knock on the chin. I think the only one that was similar because it was going to the same buoy at the same line length was Andy Mappel in I think it was 2001 on Orlando Tour Stop when he was on like a 5-way runoff. Like a 5th runoff with Wade Cox. And it was the same thing. He knocked himself out cold on a really similar fall. I actually had to look at it last night. But incredible skiing. I mean, Regina came out after, also ran 39, also ran 1 of 41. But it was just the most spectacular crash I've ever seen slaloming. And apparently, like she is okay. I mean, she's okay as in she's functional. I know. Got with a neurologist yesterday and went through a battery of tests and as of now, it sounds like she is actually contemplating skiing tomorrow in the final.
Wow, that would be amazing. I mean, we know she's a consummate competitor, but I wouldn't think any less of her if she just said,
oh gosh,
I'm gonna go home.
No, watch the fall. I wouldn't think less of her if she put her ski away and said we'll try again, like maybe in 8 months. I mean, it was horrific. But I mean, it's just again like it's interesting though because these guys make it look and these girls make it look so easy and so calm, but then you see a moment when things come unhinged and you're reminded of just the ferocity of it.
Right, and I'll close the Whitney conversation by saying, even the jump event, it's much more common, I suppose, to see somebody knocked in the head this hard, but it doesn't. I don't remember the last time I saw it. It was terrible.
2009 at the Worlds, Sebastian de Pasqua. That was the last time I've seen someone hit their head so hard that they were swimming down in an attempt to swim up.
All right, so that brings us to we had about 36 men's slalom skiers. Series 3, 2, 1 in that order. Of course, that's seeding. I know you and I are not exactly aligned on the Series 3 results, but I'll just say this. Only 1 out of 12 of the skiers in Series 3 ran 39. Mm-hmm. And there's some... The depth of the field is so large that there was an expectation that there would be greater scores. I feel like this group skied below their expectation, and there is some discussions about the feel of the boat. Some people are going to say it's sour grapes. Some people are going to say there was a problem. I don't think we'll ever have a good answer.
Yeah, I mean, it was the same boat, so I don't think there was any boat issue.
Well, what I'm saying is the feel on the rope.
So I think maybe what you're saying is Series 3 was complaining about the driving, perhaps, because they did have a different driver than Series 1 and 2.
And that is the crux of the complaints. I've talked to a couple people at the event. It's like, if we have a driver and it's the same for the top 3 series, it's consistent, right?
Yeah, but then keep in mind though that there wasn't just 3 series. If there was just 3 series, then that's valid. But there was, 9 series? So
there was 9. So so the driver who did series 3, I'm not 100% on this, but I believe he did series 8 and 9 also, and Will Bush drove the rest.
Yeah.
Whereas with the women, Mario Pigozzi drove all of series 6 through 1. So the women had, if it's driving style or whatever, the women had a much more consistent officiating or driving,
Yeah.
whereas the men had.
Yeah, I get the argument, but the thing you have to remember, I think there's 2 things. One, there's 97 slalom skiers, and not one person is going to drive 97 slalom skiers.
Understood.
And 2, you have to have multiple drivers, because what if driver A gets sick halfway through the event, and so
Right.
And I think the last point to remember is these drivers. So there was a pool nominated, if you will, and then they were voted on by the skiers. So. If the selection pool isn't being done correctly, then that's one thing. But it's what are you going to do? I mean, it's not like, series 1 there was a bunch of skiers who should have done more. I just think it's a slippery slope. I mean, they already were afforded the option to offer their opinion on the drivers from a small pool, so it's not like they could vote on any driver on the planet. But and 2, all those drivers have, really, really good reputations, including the guy in Series 3. Like, I know some, everyone has their own opinion on who's the best, but it's not like they were no-name drivers from, that haven't already yielded profoundly huge results in past tournaments.
Right. So I'm being careful what I say, because of course I'm across the country, but I've spoken to a number of people, and my understanding is a number of the teams actually specifically asked a number of days ago that because of the depth of the field, Series 3, 2, and 1 would have the same driver. And Chief Judge apparently, and again, this is all third hand, denied that.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a dust up about this after the event's over. It is what it is. But so that brings me to Series 2, and I want to make the point that but Series 2, if you take the 3 pure overall skiers out of it, that leaves 10 skiers, and 7 out of the 10 ran 39 and ran into 41, and of course Rob Hazelwood, Handsome Bob, never fails to impress with a 3 at 41. And then, kind of.
I think while it's accurate, I think that's the worst nickname in the industry.
I don't know.
Don't
yeah.
Like he's quite attractive, but I still don't like the nickname. It was absolutely incredible. Yeah, I mean, he skied crazy well. Joel Poland was the other one. Another overall skier who put out a 2 at 41, followed by eventually a 3 at 41 in the runoff. And they just kept knocking it down. I was on the losing end of a couple bets. I was thinking that the cut was going to be south of 2. Like, I thought 1.5 was you were going to be safe, and that just wasn't the case. It was. No. I mean, 2 was. There was 4 people with 2 to and they ran off for 2 spots. So I mean, 2 at 41 only got you an opportunity to run off. It was absolutely phenomenal. So
let's really get to it. 8 guys tied with 3 at 41. That alone, I think, makes this the highest scoring final in the history of the sport. That's not even counting DeGasperi with his 4.
Mm-hmm.
DeGasperi, you'd never bet against him getting 4, but that's on one of his best scores of a lifetime. Smith runs 1 at 43, and then that leaves the 4 guys who tied for 2 at 41. So, I mean, this prelim was just insane. Off the hook. Crazy.
And it's, I mean, you can scroll through it, and again, probably the, highlight. There was 2 real, things that really stood out for me. Well, there was a bunch, but the 2 that I'm going to mention. One was John Travers. I mean, I don't know. I mean, John's got to be, I don't know how old he is, but I mean, he's got to be getting
Late
close
30s.
to 40. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, he, 41, great start. A little hitch on 2-ball, pulled really long to 3, threw his ski out, got the tip outside of the buoy, did a full body slide, stood up, and got back to the wakes in time. Upon review, yes, his tip got around the buoy, but it did, by the time his binding got there, he had sunk it. So it was the right call. It was a hard call to make, especially against the tournament organizer and one of the favorites. But it was the right call. But it was spectacular. And then what was cool was in the runoff, he ended up getting through. So. And then the other one was also in the runoff, and I'll let you talk about that.
You're talking about Meckler?
Wouldn't we all?
Oh my God! I haven't screamed at the television that much in I don't think ever. So of course you got to realize in this runoff, Meckler hasn't skied in hours, and these four guys got to ski.
Yeah, talking about Dane Meckler.
Talk about Dane Meckler. The four guys in the runoff, who all, by the way, ran 39 cold off the dock, and then Meckler proceeds to just walk down 41. It's his first tournament 41 ever. I guess it sort of doesn't count, which is shit. I mean, it counts. He ran 41 in a tournament, and he just destroyed it. I think you talked to somebody on site that craned forward to make sure they remembered to shorten the rope, because it looked like an astoundingly easy 39, and it was 41. And he just like implausibly bitching. I posted on my Instagram one of those meme pictures from Joe Rogan from the UFC where he's making that face like he's just been godsmacked, because that's exactly how I felt. I just could not believe. I mean, it's one of the best 41s I've ever seen.
Yes. I couldn't have been more excited. I couldn't have been happier for him, because I know how it feels when you peak like that, and he did it in such an important moment. But it was like that. It looked like a really, really easy 39. And the interesting thing was he, you could tell he wasn't as comfortable on his gate setup. He wasn't especially high, but he was free of the boat for a long, long time, and he did a really upright, he took that speed and didn't fall into it, which I thought he was going to when it looked like he was, a little faster than he wanted to. He stayed really upright, and I mean, when he moved into the load, it was like, uh-oh. He was on a heck of a good line, and I mean, really, what it was for me watching that pass and find it and watch it, because it's incredible. You could tell there was just a little bit of, it wasn't hesitation, but there was a little bit of. He was a little bit conservative at 2, because he was the first skier off the dock, and I think the consensus was if you run your cold 39 and you get 2, you're probably going to be okay. So he was a little conservative at 2, and then when he came through 3 with 0 pause, it just was like, I think he got this burst of confidence that he was on borrowed money at that time. So he was confident he was going to be in, and he just let that pass unfold. Man, there was no wasted movements, no wasted space. It was absolutely incredible. I've watched it 15 times since yesterday.
Yeah. I don't know. He's impressed me with his skiing for years, but yeah. I would have bet an astounding amount of money that he would not be the next person to run 41, and certainly would have bet an astounding money that he would not have run it yesterday, and I'd have been wrong. I mean, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, watching him get 3s and 4s and 5s, I mean, really, he was going to run it as soon as. Yeah, he does have a 5. I believe.
5 somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, he was going to be a guy to run it if he could. Reel in emotion, but I mean, it was. But to do it at a runoff at the Worlds,
cold 39, crazy,
incredible.
Right.
The best tournament day I've ever been able to I've ever watched. It was absolutely amazing. So finals. They're on Saturday and Sunday, so you got to tune in.
Yeah, stay home, sit by the TV, close the door, or take your phone out to the car and tell your wife you're going to the store and just sit there and watch in your car.
Incredible! Can't wait to see the finals.
All right, thank you, Trent.